Good morning, brothers and sisters. I pray that these devotionals and these short little videos have been helpful to you. Really, they're just an outpouring of what I've learned in my personal devotion. So today's Tuesday, although you're getting this Wednesday morning. It's around 2, you see the clock behind me, 2:40-ish. And so that's when I'm recording this for you. And I pray that this is helpful for you. So this morning, I was meditating on Psalm 13 as I was spending time in prayer. And so let me read that for you. Psalm 13 says this: How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I take counsel in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all the day? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Light up my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Lest my enemy say, I have prevailed over him, lest my foes rejoice because I am shaken. But I have trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. Now think about that question. How long, O Lord? Have you been asking yourself that question lately? Asking God that question? How long, O Lord, will it be until we get back to normal? How long will it be till we get back to school or work or church? How long? Well, in Psalm 13, David has the same question. He wasn't awaiting the all-clear signal so he could get back to work or school or church. He was asking how long his enemy would be against him. There were people in his life who hated him and his faithfulness to God. But the issue for David wasn't just his enemy. David felt like God wasn't present, like God wasn't hearing him. He felt like God had forgotten him, and all he had left were his own thoughts and his own sorrows. So what does David do? Well, he prays. This Psalm 13 is a prayer. First, in verses 1 through 2, he's honest with God. Every time David says in this psalm, how long, he's expressing to God what it feels like, that he feels like he just can't go on anymore. So notice David starts by being honest with God. Have you been honest with God about your fears, your anxieties, and your insecurities? Have you felt like God has hidden his face from you and has forgotten you? If so, you're not alone. David's right there with you, and he's saying, friend, be honest with God. But, now here's the thing, here's the key, don't stay there. In verses 3 through 4, David asks for help. He says, consider and answer me, O Lord my God. David calls God his God. He pleads with his God to give life to his weary eyes. He pleads with God to rescue him from the enemy. He pleads with his God that he would not be shaken by this situation. So brothers and sisters, God has not forgotten us in our trials and in this situation. He has not abandoned us. So let's use this time in our lives to strengthen our resolve to honestly pray and seek God's help in our time of need. And let's trust him. That's what David does in the last 2 verses. Notice he says, but I have trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. Well, as is typical in so many psalms, the conflict has not passed. The enemy is still present, and it still feels like God has forgotten him. Yet David determines to trust in God's steadfast love rather than his feelings. He focuses on God's sure, steadfast, immovable covenant love for him rather than his feelings that shift like the sand of the seashore. And friends, as he does that, he realizes that he will rejoice in God's salvation once again. And he determines that despite the circumstances, despite his feelings, he will once again sing to the Lord because God has dealt bountifully with him in the past, so he's sure to do it again. So my fellow Christians, as you pray, as you pour out your hearts to God, remember God's steadfast love that is most evident in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. Use Psalm 13 as a pattern today for your prayers. Go ahead, just pour out your heart to God. Be honest with him. Plead with him to answer your prayers. And then remind yourself of his steadfast love. Rejoice in his salvation through Jesus Christ and sing praises to him. Well, once again, I love you. I pray that these would be helpful for you. And I pray that you would find your satisfaction and delight and joy in the God of our salvation. Lord willing, we'll see you soon.